All right, from Leamington, Ontario, originally is this musician, podcaster, entertainer, but four-time Stanley Cup champion, former Calgary Flame, but most importantly, part of the Detroit Red Wings organization for many years and still today, the Grind Line's Darren McCarty. Welcome to the show, man.
Great to be here. Appreciate the great introduction, Drake. And you know what? Yeah, a lot of things going on. I'll start
Yeah,
with this: is that don't let anybody define you by what you do. You got to put whatever you put in to get out. It's about following your passion. So I do a bunch of different things too.
absolutely. And great advice for anybody, but of course yourself too, coming from a man like yourself. We're gonna kick things off talking about one of your trades, jack of all trades, everyone knows, but recently the band is back together and Grind is doing
Ooh,
some shows this summer, correct? In Michigan.
yeah,
So how did that all
grind,
come to be?
grind. Yeah, one of my. If you know me, I think my next album is going to be called Hiatus because that's like one of my favorite things. I never like quit anything. I just put it on the back burner and hiatus. The band's one of those things, and I just believe now that I just turned 50, but with Billy Reedy, who's always been not only my guitar player, but he's been my buddy for 30 years. It's all a time when the grinder time comes when the universe lets us get together. And this time around, you know, the one thing is that we're going to be out there having a blast with each other and how we spend the time, but also too is that it's just another great way to bring people together, people in
Absolutely.
my world. So, it's something too is that music's one of those things that test the time. So I've written a few albums over the years and going back through a lot of the songs, your mental where my mental space is, and I know where I was when I wrote the song, and I'm in a totally different place now. And I think that that's the beauty of music and getting together and creating something like that.
Yeah, of course.
um for me, it's about sharing it, but it's also about the vibe and the energy and stuff like that. And it just gives me another chance to hang out, party with my people.
Yeah, have some fun, right? I mean, it's cool that you can kind of step away for a while and still come back to do it in a way to express yourself a little bit differently than you're probably used to, right?
Well, yeah, you know what? Listen, it's no secret. Chris Jericho, not only a great friend but a great mentor of mine, and
Oh,
he's always like, "Bro, follow your passions, and what do you put in to get out?" So it's one of those things that I'm not afraid to try different things, and if I like them, then I'll put the work in to at least be decent. And that's why I traveled around doing everything. If anybody knows me, my main concern is with the CBDs and the cannabis plant and stuff with the recovery and the life. But these are all arms of different things. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
like I just like Chris said, man, it's like I don't do anything for the dollar. It's I chase my passions with people that are passionate with me. And that's what I've done. No matter what it is, surround myself with it. And the beauty is because for me, it's when I can focus on certain things, and then when I'm pushing the hardest, I can change my focus. That's the beauty of it. So I can do so many things and have so many things going on. And I'm
yeah.
grateful for the band. I'm as excited as anybody to get back out there. That's one of the things that I've learned, that I missed through COVID and stuff like that. Even though I needed that time to sort of look inside and see what I wanted to do coming out of it, as a lot of people. But
Yeah.
now I'm ready to bring people together and just my big thing, dude, is no matter what I do is I want to show you why we're closer, why we're more have more things in common than we do not. It's that human connection. So start with the band. It just gives me another, like I said, another arm to do things that
Yeah.
I love to do.
Yeah, one of your many avenues, I guess we could say. And you mentioned some of them that we will talk about hopefully throughout this conversation. But before we get away from music, of course, people that know that you have the band and you've done a lot of things. But obviously, I can only imagine you've always been passionate about music. But did it only really come to be like after playing hockey that you got involved in music, or were you like
No,
playing
I was
instruments as a
always
kid? Or
Well, I grew up in Leamington, and I always
yeah.
say to this day, a guy named Jody Raful in the band called the Hitmen, which is from my hometown, that
Mhm.
they let me play rock star, sort of growing up, and I was as you know, from Damon Johnson and Brother Kane, Damon Johnson, who's played with Alice Cooper and Thin Lizzy and has a band, Brother Kane, who's back out. I mean, I was on stage at the Fillmore back in like 95. You know what I mean? With those
Okay.
guys and doing stuff. So it's always been in my blood. We created Grinder back in 98 after the accident to Vladimir Konstantinov to raise money, and we did a tribute album and stuff. And then I picked it up and put it down during the lockout in 04. I didn't go play hockey. I went and toured 85 shows, played the Roxy. I've opened for live in front of like 10,000 people. It's a Jones. So I've been able to, and I'm not, you know, man, I'm not a musician, but you know, I love music, and
I got you.
And like I said, I'm an entertainer. So I figured that part of it out, and what has helped that. So I've picked it up and put it down, and for different reasons, and now we're picking it back up again, and it's sort of always been there.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things. And it's something that when we go into band mode, I take it serious. Like I said, it's along the same lines of what Chris Jericho does between wrestling and his band Fozzy and stuff like this. And we're nowhere near that level, but what we do is we're at the level of, if you've been to a Fozzy show, it's about the party. It's about the show. It's about engaging with the people. And for me, it's just another way to connect to people that I haven't connected with, or I have over the years. And it's just another way that we can get in each other's space. So the band has always sort of been there. Like I said, the band is Billy, Reedy, and myself. So I wouldn't do Grinder without Billy, but the rest of our buddies that fill in and have filled the lineup out, it's all about, these are guys that I hang out with. You know, these are guys that are part of my life. So it just makes sense that we're just taking the party public. Pretty much it.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. And, you know, you kind of mentioned, you know, growing up in Leamington where it all started. And I mean, you were born out in BC. So how did you kind of come out to Ontario?
Yeah,
you know, what was growing up like out here?
Yeah, I was born in British Columbia. But my parents separated when I was 6 months old. So we moved back to Woodsley, which is between Leamington and Windsor. So the house, to give people perspective, the house I grew up in, give or take 10 minutes for the border of Windsor and Detroit, took me 40 minutes to get to Joe Louis Arena.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew up a Red Wings fan, Dead Wings. In fact, back in the, you know, late 70s, early 80s, we couldn't win nothing, but we could beat you up. So that was good with me. Now my other buddies were Toronto Maple Leafs and Canadians fans, and we all know that those are the most irritating fans in the world, right? Because they're
as I lower the screen here for you.
No, that's all good, bro. It's all good. I mean, listen, I don't want to get off topic, but you know what? If you guys can get through the first round this year, you might actually be able to make some waves.
That's the
so
challenge.
If you need some help during the playoffs, I mean, I can tell you what's going on if you get deeper into it. But anyways, the love, you'll appreciate this because you showed me the Toronto. The best bet that I ever made when I was 10 years old was with my cousin Chad. We grew up together. He's 6 months younger than I am. He's a huge Maple Leafs fan. So I bet him the Wings would win the cup before the Maple Leafs. Back in '97, I scored the cup clinching goal. I made him pay me $200. Now we have a bet for 100 since that date. It was the Maple Leafs or the Red Wings because I just keep taking money off him. He owes me $400 if he paid me every time I won cups, right? So that's the best bet that I made. Now it's Maple Leafs and Lions, and you know what? You guys got a better shot. So
I have that.
It'll be good. So I grew up since I was 6 months old, this close with my grandparents, and my mom remarried when I was 5 years old. We moved to Leamington, and that's where all my minor hockey, minor baseball, sort of when they say it takes a community to raise, you know, an athlete. Leamington is where I'm from.
And especially the smaller towns, you know, a little bit more intimate, homegrown boy, right? So played for the South Point Capitals, where it all kind of started.
I wasn't South Point at the time. It was still Leamington. See, South Point is a combination of Wheatley, Leamington, all the.
Essex,
we played everything out, but to your point, we were a community.
Yes,
you know, where all the most best players come out of AAA. But the best thing that I did is, after my Bantam year at 14, my 15-year-old year, I went and played Junior B in Peterborough. So I got out of the area, and then that's what started. Then I got drafted to Belleville. You know, that's where it all started. So. but born and bred, and it's the rinks of Essex County and the ball diamonds of Essex County that raised this kid.
That's pretty cool, man. And like many others throughout the city and through the community, which is why we do this. So it's really cool. And you mentioned, we were obviously had to bring up, are you a Wings fan or are you a Leafs fan? Blah blah blah, because most of the people in Windsor are between them, right? And you mentioned that being a Wings fan and being drafted to the team you grew up loving and being able to play in the Joe had to have been like, we could sit here and talk about your career all day, but just the fact that you had some close ties to it had been pretty special from the beginning.
Playing at home, man.
Yeah.
You know what? I consider myself Detroit's favorite stepson, but I mean, I got to live like playing like the hometown kid. And not only that, but also too, to score the cup clinching goal, to bring the cup back. I knew the history. I live it. I love it. It's the same sort of thing on a different angle. But this is why Dylan Larkin and I have this connection, because we're pretty much, he was born, he's King Arthur, he's born into it, right? We're more like the Knights of the Round Table and stuff like this, but it's the passion and love for the culture, knowing the history, knowing what it's all about to wear the wing wheel. And Chris Draper, my line mate and the grind line teammate, I think he said it the best. I'm not the Hall of Fame, I'm not the most talented, but you know what, when it comes to the proudest Red Wing, I'm up there. I could be the proudest one. And it's because it's been in my blood since I was a little kid. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the love, the fans on and off the ice, because through my struggles has enabled me to get to this point, at 50, to not only be alive, but to be able to do the things that I do. And I really cherish that relationship that I have with not only the people that I've come across, but people in the state, and we're Red Wings fans everywhere. It means a ton.
Oh, you can really see the passion, obviously, just in the stuff you do. I mean, you go to a Red Wings game, you're bound to see yourself on the concourse somewhere or at the booth, right? So obviously just the passion of not only the game, but, the Red Wings themselves, you being part of that family keeps you around for, how many years has it been since you stopped playing? You're still there.
I retired in 2009.
Yeah.
So after we lost to Pittsburgh, and you know what, it's been bleak for a lot of times, I didn't go to a full game for a lot of years, but now you see me coming around more and stuff because I believe in the process. You look at, all the guys that you watch play are now part of the organization, putting it back together. Yeah. For me, I'm doing the greatest job that I want. Like that's the one thing, is that we all are doing for the organization the best of the assets. For me, it's connecting the fans and the team, right? I ain't gonna help with the game's changed. I ain't gonna help you with, I may give you a couple tips on how to, play the puck along the wall or get the puck out on your end. There's stuff to learn, but the speed of the game, the X's and O's and stuff, leave that to the coaches and the draft, into the guys who love it, like Drapes and Maltz and guys that want to spend their time at the rink. I'm about the fans and about getting this culture right. So we're all, what's coming. And I just think that because I've lived with these guys, I know the mentality, I'm on their way. Like I see things. I can explain, maybe translate it a little bit. So it's a process. And the biggest thing with the Red Wings is Steve Yzerman, is that he's going to nail the foundation down before he keeps going. Now there's progress, and every great organization, you just don't automatically, keep taking steps forward. There's going to be some trying times in there. I think the second half of the year was part of that, but you realize maybe what you didn't have more than what you did have, but that only helps you moving forward. So I'm just here to narrate it any way I can. People ask me questions, they know they're going to get my truth.
Well, you got a great role then. You got a good gig for yourself. And again, just everyone doing their part, right? Everyone's doing their part.
That's all it is. It's pretty much just like the team was built before, right? If I could be the best Darren McCarty, and I'm going to be the enforcer, you say something stupid about Dylan Larkin being the captain, and then you're going to feel the wrath of DMAC and fighting you to come and fist fight at Woodward Sports. It's open, because that's how I can't protect them on the ice, but I sure as shit, I'm not going to listen to absolute ridiculous stupidity off the ice. You can have your opinion on guys and different things, but there's certain things when it comes to culture that I will punch you straight in the face if you give me the chance.
Absolutely.
Because I'm passionate about that, because you can argue about the coach, you can argue about different things, and should this guy, but there's certain things that you can't argue about. And that's when it comes down to the structure and everything else.
Yeah.
And that just vulnerable truth with integrity. That's my heart virtue. That's what makes me tick. That explains the Lemieux incident. That explains, my cannabis, but everything else. So don't talk stupid stuff like that.
Of course. That shows the passion too, right? But that's
right,
also kind
exactly.
of what I was going to allude to too, is like the band is back together, at least for you guys right now. Obviously not on the ice, but like half of that era is involved in the club. So I mean, familiar faces make things.
And that's all 19, baby. That's all, Stevie. It's a hashtag Wiser plan. When they get good enough, like conference finals or cups, then I'll tell you why it's actually the hashtag McKaiser plan. It's like a Kaiser Soze thing, but you guys aren't ready for that right now. We know I'm not good with the money and stuff, so he's doing a great job. So he's got his buddy Nick, and he's got his buddy Croner, and he's got his buddy Drapes and Maltz and Gary Fisher and Pork and all these Dan Cleary. He's got all his buddies up there. They're all good. I trust those guys when it comes to the X's and O's.
Yeah, again, everyone's doing their part, right?
That's it,
man. It's cool. Again, like I said, we could sit here and talk about your hockey career all day, and then just have a podcast on that. But you do a lot of other things too, like we've been talking about. You still golfing a lot, or?
Absolutely. You know what? I fair weather golf today was gonna.
Yeah.
I've been out once this season, but the weather just hasn't been like this weekend was beautiful, and I was tied up doing other things. But we'll get there. Yeah, I've still played as much as I can.
Yeah.
Like I always say, I carry one of the best 8s in the country around, because it allows me not, if you carry an 8 handicap and I can play above that, but I can also play below that, it sort of evens it all out, and it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Because
gotta be fun.
that's where, it's being out there and having a good time and taking it for what it is. So you won't see me on tour anytime soon, but maybe on that celebrity tour. You never know. We're striving for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for a while it was seemed like a pretty big part of your life, like you did the pro-am here, I think, and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like they're different, it's I need a few different me's to be able to do everything that I want to do. So now it just becomes what are the priorities, and it's just like anything else. No matter what you do, you only get out what you put in. So you have to be realistic with how much you can put in. So I mean, if you don't practice and you don't get to spend all that time making yourself better on no matter what it is, then cut yourself some slack when you go do it, or put more time in and make it a priority. That's all it is. It's really simple. It's not easy.
Oh no,
it's about discipline and putting the work in, right?
But again, it's just another one of those things that you kind of do, and it's part of your life.
It's one of those things that I do that I'm not like, but that I'm good at. Like I consider myself good at a whole bunch of things. Don't have to be great at a whole bunch of things. I was great at being a teammate on a Stanley Cup team, and I got 4 cups, so now we can ride the rest of it out. So it's just finding your place and being happy with it. And for me, all the things that I do, I'm all about the experience.
That's cool.
And it's about sharing that experience with other people. So whether it's out there busting chops with my buddies or playing and I usually play, that's one of the things I love to do is play this charity scrambles and stuff.
Yeah.
Help raise money for different things. So that's going to get started soon, usually a Monday thing. And I play about 15 to 20 of them a year. And I look forward to that because it's all the people that I get to, and that's, so that's where golf to me is at right now. I'd like to be better. I'd like to spend more time on it, but reality is that's not happening.
Oh, it's hard. You got to put in a lot of time to be good, right? So
absolutely,
it takes time, and there'll be opportunities for that in the future now with everything kind of coming back, and that kind of leads me to something that something that we pretty much have to talk about if you're going to be on a Windsor Sports podcast, and that's Bob Probert and the return of the Probert ride this year. So obviously we know you had a connection with him and still do with his family and stuff like that. So I mean, it'd be pretty remiss if we don't at least bring him up, and it's great that the event is back this year too.
Well, it is, and it goes to show you that it's something that we've missed. And Danny and the kids we're as close as we've been from day one, obviously, with that connection, and to be able to watch them all grow up and see Danny move on, but to be able to have something where, and it's not just, I think that Danny realizes this is how much Bob meant to so many people, not just in the area, but throughout the sport and all the guys that come in. It's a way to be able to give the honor. I always say for me, I was grateful because, what Bob Probert not only did for me, but it's something that, it's unfortunate because we've all lost people, but there is part of me that lives my life in gratitude to the fact that Proby showed me where the line was when he crossed it, and I was always able to teeter on the cliff and not go over until I finally did be able to figure out who Darren McCarty was to Darren McCarty. Like I tell everybody, I knew who DMAC was since I was 6 years old. It took me to 46 to figure out who Darren McCarty was, but now that we do, there's a lot of me that and Proby's just one of the guys that we've lost, that about, but I've lost other people too. And it's just sort of, there's something in being able to get together and tell the stories and be a part of it. And I think that over the COVID and the past few years where the disconnect has happened, that this will make it even bigger this year. And, I look forward to it. So you'll definitely see me there. One of the great things is
awesome.
Well, one of the great things is I always say, is that if you've ever seen the Stanley Cup picture out of the Free Press or the News with me riding the Harley with the Stanley Cup on the back, well, that's Proby's Moo cow, right? Because it had a back plate. My Harley at the time didn't have a back plate to it, so that's the Harley that I rode. I believe it was the '02 Cup, was around there. But the fact is, tradition-wise, is I ride that motorcycle every Probert ride until one of the kids is able to take it. I believe that it might be this year that we'll see Tierney or Jack or somebody be able to take the bike, which is also part of it. So love Big Bob as much to this day as I did back then. Everything, he was such a larger than life personality. To this day, he'll always be Goomba and I'll always be Mitzi, and that's just the way it was. And so it's great that in tragedies we could all be able to come together. And to me, for not just me but for a lot of people, that Probert ride represents something to what Bob Probert meant to all of us. So it's cool to be able to see, because at the end of the day, right, the reality is the money that they've raised has saved lives, right? It's the fact of that, the heart attack out on the water, the defibrillators, whatever, the awareness has come to the forefront, getting your heart checked and at different ages. So don't tell me anything. I lost my dad, Craig McCarty, back in '99 to multiple myeloma, and part of the McCarty Cancer Foundation mission statement was that I know that I'm not going to be able to save my dad, but one day we'll save somebody else's. And to this day, where he was diagnosed in 1996, 26 years later, that people that get diagnosed with the disease, it's not a death sentence. They can have medication to live off it, and that's what life's all about. So in that way, Proby's looking down at us, and I know that he smiles, and he always makes it he always throws something in. There's either huge rain and then sun coming out, and he always makes it a spectacle for the ride, but we always know that he's there.
Yeah, he's messing with everybody still playing those jokes, those pranks, right?
That's what he does. That big old Bob Lowe.
Yeah, classic, man. That's cool though. It's all about the lessons learned in life and these experiences. And you talked about it way back when that documentary debuted, the Bob Probert documentary. You kind of alluded to what you were talking about now and said, that's when cannabis saved my life, and that was, kind of part of it. So obviously we all know you're a big advocate for stuff like that. And it's crazy to think back to those days a couple of years ago even, and how much it's changed in Michigan and Canada and stuff like that.
Everywhere. Education, man. It's education. The fact that
unbelievable, really.
Truth is out. I always say that you can bitch and moan about the millennial generation, and then you can come to me and I'll show gratitude, because it's transparency in politics and entertainment and sports. It's transparency. Well, guess what? Who came along? cannabis doing its thing. That's always done for tens of
Yeah.
thousands of years. Except now that we know with the education and stuff like that, obviously it started with Canada being legal. I mean, but here's the thing, right? Which blows me away because it's so gray still, country to country, state to state, this and that, that will eventually get some symmetry on the whole spectrum. But the education of people knowing that if they do have an option, that's all it is. I say, do you know you have an option? And you tell me yes or you tell me no. And then I explain to you about, hey, guess what? You know, your endocannabinoid system and this, that. So the science is there. The common sense aspect of it is there. It's all about the option. I don't care whether you do or you don't. I hope you don't. More for me.
Yeah.
Right. But the fact is that the compassion in me has to let you know that there is. For me, the biggest thing is being an alcoholic insomniac is that I'm big in the CBN, which is a sedative part of the plant that you can help your go to sleep,
Yeah.
shut your brain off.
Oh, everyone's different,
brilliant.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about and everybody's different, your system's different, but it's all about don't tell me what, tell me who. So there is answers to what people want. They're going through pain. You know, the big thing too is I realized that, you know, my big focus, and don't get it twisted. I got what's this? Z Lotto. I got pre-rolls. I got weed out the yin yang, right? That I promote and stuff. But it's about the roll on, the CBD, the CBN, all this stuff that everybody can use, right? I did my roll on first, my CBD roll on, not only because it's e-commerce and I could ship it everywhere, but I needed to handle my arthritis. Wanted something to keep my hands and stuff. Boom, I found it. The fact that it's hemp based and it's all about being getting around people that are smarter than you, that have the same passion, and I ain't stopping. I mean, think about it, right? I'm from Leamington, Ontario. What is Leamington known for now? Tomatoes and weed. So the fact that Afria and everybody there, we haven't figured out how to consummate Darren McCarty brand cannabis over there means we're working on, which would be apropos to get throughout. But these are all things that are in the hopper. We're working towards figuring out everything else. But eventually, yes, there's goals I plan to have it accessible everywhere. So it's just, you know,
it's cool that we're able to do this too, though, right? Like you never would have thought this would be.
Well, you should, because it's about the option. And I'm a come from a kid. Listen, don't get it twisted. I've been sucking back beer since I was like 12 years old because that was accepted. The fact that, but it's not. And then we go through the opiate age and the pills and stuff like this. We know better. There's a better option. So quit. If we're going to, everybody's on a health kick or going organic or keto or whatever. This is right along the same lines to the people that don't understand it. It's about health and wellness.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's things that I know, and that's the whole thing with my passion. There's just things that you can't argue with me about.
Of course.
You can argue with me about it, but there's things that I will die on the hill for. Put it this way. Google me, see how I protected my Red Wing teammates. So just imagine, I'm retired. I've taken the wing wheel off my chest, put it in my back pocket. I still care about it from a distance, and I put that cannabis plant on here. So now fight. Because I will go life or death, because this is about life or death. This plant I owe my life to, because without it, I would have been dead November 12th, 2015. And what do I mean by that? To get to it, I was 285 pounds. My blood pressure was 265 over 165. How do I not stroke out or coma? Well, thank goodness, because along with everything else in my system, there was cannabis at a high level that stopped me from doing that. Then through the love and compassion of the caregiver program and the friends that pretty much I had to make a decision right there. So 10 to 15 grams of RSO to get me 7 days later out of a whatever puking crap and doing whatever, purging the physical addiction of alcohol out of my body. I was grateful, in tears, on my knees, and then I got mad for being lied to. And if I felt this way and it took me to this edge, what about everybody else? And hence 6 years later, we're here. So I ain't stopping, can't stop, won't stop.
Good.
Come on board the trains. Let's go to everybody else, because it's about just being the best you can be.
That's fantastic.
So that's, you know, That's where it is. Here's a little preview. Can you see that? It says Darren McCarty, and at the bottom it says premium cannabis. The only time you'll ever find PC behind my name. But that's coming out. So beautiful. There, thank you for letting me have my soapbox.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff, man. Again, it all kind of ties together. And before we start to wrap it up,
that's the whole thing, bro. Drake, where you realize this, but I don't have to tell you because you are from Essex County. You're part of Essex County Fight Club, right? Which is the mentality. It's not about whether you played in the NHL or whatever. You have the Fight Club mentality for each other. Is that you understand? Yes, it all ties in.
Yeah,
we tie everything into one another, right? No matter what we do, that's how we were raised, right? Something leads to something else. Something leads to something else. I believe that that's part of growing up in Essex County. That's why I call it the Essex County Fight Club. I always say, well, it's guys that play in the NHL, but it's the mentality
everybody, though.
Of everybody. It's a mentality of Mike Brown. It's a mentality of Chad Jeffries, Sean Bell, the kids that I grew up playing with. That's the mentality that we have throughout to this day. So
absolutely, we've talked about that with a lot of people, and it's very true. And of course, yourself would attest to that. I mean, off the ice, on the ice, anywhere. That's all the mentality to carry forward everywhere. And another guy that would agree with that. Something that we have to talk about as well, as we were talking about Bob Probert. We all know that he was a big wrestling fan and did a lot involved in wrestling, and now yourself doing that too. You're with Dennis Farrell with the Wrestling Perspective podcast. So again, another something that you just like to do that you're like, hey, get myself involved in this then?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually with the Wrestling Perspective, so Lars Fredrickson, and it was originally Jason Kendall, Dimitri Young, former baseball players, myself, Lars Fredrickson, and Petey Williams. Well, Petey Williams, who tied in, so it all comes back to Scott D'Amore, and always comes back to Essex County Impact Wrestling, which by the way, if you're sleeping on Impact Wrestling right now, it's probably the best storyline show going on. Josh Alexander and Moose, the story with, it's just great. Hats off to Scott D'Amore, Tommy Dreamer, and all of those guys that they've done. But it's the Essex County connection. By the way, Scott D'Amore and Danny Probert are cousins. So there you go. There ties it all in. So actually now, so Petey's actually producing, working for WWE now. He was actually for the Monday Night Raw that was in Detroit. He was one of the guys that came out to help save Dominic Mysterio and put him on the stretcher and stuff like this, which is great. What I'm trying to say is Dennis and Lars have continued the Wrestling Perspective podcast. Myself and the brand have delved into the hardcore deathmatch scene. So actually May 7th at Harpo's, there's a new the Circle 6, which incorporates the 440, the Ricky Shane Page, the Atticus Kogers, all these guys that you might see in RPW, ICW. My interaction with the brand. Here's the bottom line. I take the same thing with the product. I'm about the wrestlers and the fans, right? So if I can see these guys entertaining me, beating the crap out of each other, putting each other through doors, breaking stuff over each other, and can help them in knowing that they have an option, not just the pills or the opiates and stuff, but it's a very canna-friendly scene to understand, what they're working, and it's more of a medicinal use. So I've stepped away from the podcast. I do jump on every now and then, but I'm more delved into the RPWs, the ICWs, all the local scene, especially in Michigan. There's one out in Kalkaska, Mr. Chainsaw, but I'm in for the guys. So the Tommy Vendettas, the lovable psychopath, he's my next push. So you see me around. I don't want to do it, but I will. And I do get into it. I call I got a D-Max Stoner. It's my finisher, which is I'm a huge Stone Cold fan. So it's a stoner stunner where I don't kick you, but I'll punch you in the gut to drop you down and then give you the stunner. So I'll do it. I don't want to, but I will if I have to. So I got a bunch of stuff coming up, but I love wrestling. Wrestling's my favorite. Wrestling's always been my favorite sport because it's about the storylines to me.
Perfect
it's
for
about
you.
The characters and now being older and having all these friends and you know, Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman, who's X-Pac, were just in town for Astronomicon, so they've been buddies for years. And to catch up with guys along the way, I love seeing it. I love the passion of the younger. I'm all about the storyline. Storyline, I don't have to like it, but it's got to make sense. So that's why I love Impact. What they have the greatest storylines going on. That's why I love the independent scenes, like with the ICWs, RPWs, what Circle 6 has going on. So IWTV, which is shout out to the independent wrestling television. You can watch so many different promotions throughout this country and Canada and stuff like this. That's how I catch up on who's coming out of Canada too, and not being able to travel there, but hearing the names. I think that, one of the guys, if you see AEW, but 2.0 and stuff like this, the way that the Canadian guys have come out. So it's a great way to connect. And I know that wrestling in the Windsor area and Essex County has always been big, and take pride in it. But, to me, it's like I said, I'm involved behind the scenes to help the guys, but every now and then you see me out there getting my nose involved when it sort of happens. So I'm having fun.
That's good. Again, what it's all about, and perfect for you, perfect avenue for you. And again, in an industry that can probably benefit from a lot of your advocacy for cannabis as well. But that being said, I mean, you're keeping busy, man. You're doing a lot. Are you still doing the Grind Time podcast as well, doing yours?
So I put Grind Time podcast on hiatus because every day between 11 and 1 on Woodward Sports Network, I do the energy with Neo Rule. So, like I said, hiatus is my favorite name. And the reason why I don't do it is because I have a concept of how I need it to be done, and I can't fulfill that concept. So I'd rather not do it and leave it off to the side till it can be done right. But it will be coming back out, and I believe it'll probably be more of a mobile version, which is what I need. So got to get more of a cross between a Bussin' with the Boys and a Be Real Smoke Box.
Beautiful. Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. And hey, this has been a great chat, man. Just to kind of talk about the early days here, talk about the scene in Windsor. I mean, we could talk about that forever too, but a lot of stuff to cover with you, and we did it.
You got her, Drake. I appreciate it. Keep me anytime you need any updates. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I love staying connected. I love what you got going on, and there is, and I know this for a fact, and maybe I'll take this back to everybody that Bob Probert told me one time about how we talk about this, but like how the guys like himself, myself, the Ty Domies, the Bob Bugners, all the guys that came, there is a pride of being from Essex County and 100%. Playing in all the rinks that we played in, all the people that we see to this day. I mean, we all take pride in when we came back to play against the Spitfires and got pennies thrown at us because we were good. So that's all it is. So I love the people of, that's my Essex County, Leamington, Essex County, but it's an extension because I spent a lot, not just time in Leamington, it's playing against everybody else, the people there. So I want them to know from Darren McCarty, he appreciates it. It takes a county to raise a kid, and you did a good, you eventually did a good, you should be proud now. You should be proud now. Touch and go with a few of us here and there, but the rest of us can pick up the slack, and it shows what we're doing. And I look forward to seeing everybody who comes out to the Harley for the ride this year. It's going to be a big year, and I think that guys fly in for this. Yeah. I know Scott Parker is huge on this. He'll be in. Bushy and all the guys that loved Proby as much as I.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to that. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man. Really appreciate it.
You got it, Drake. All right. Catch you down the road.